Minister, at the outset, I want to acknowledge Natasha O'Brien, who will be in the gallery today. Natasha and Blonde Rala, who are two incredibly brave women, their courage in speaking out has been an inspiration to so many. Their demands for justice and reform aren't just being heard in this chamber, they're being heard in hundreds and thousands of homes all over the country. Homes where other girls and women who are living with violence or abuse, or who have suffered violence and abuse, now don't feel so alone. We know they're not alone. In fact, they are in the majority. Because most women have experienced sexual harassment or violence, and every day they're primed for it. They know the cold dread of hearing heavy footsteps speed up behind them when they're walking home alone at night. They know the sense of embarrassment and discomfort when senior male colleagues act inappropriately. They know the anger and humiliation of being aggressively groped in a busy street or pub. They know the feeling of rising panic when they find themselves trapped in a room with a man whose demeanour has suddenly shifted. Most of the women listening to me now will have experienced at least one of those situations. Many will have endured them all, others many more. Countless disquieting and alarming encounters that chip away at women's safety and sense of security. Because sexual violence is an epidemic and always has been. We had another reminder of that at the weekend with the shocking story of abuse in the FAI in the 1990s. I want to take this opportunity to commend those women and their immense courage too. What they endured when many of them were just teenagers was wrong and profoundly damaging. And they suffered through it alone because they thought they were the only ones. That is what abusers do. They isolate, they undermine, they bully, and they threaten. They view women as either their property or objects and treat them accordingly with contempt and cruelty. Victims feel alone, but abusers often don't. Some, like Cathal Crotty, will even boast to friends on social media about inflicting an attack. I don't think we'll forget his words. 2 to put her down, 2 to put her out. Others will gloat about their hatred for women online. They don't even need to go to the dark corners of the internet to do that anymore. They can just go to X, formerly Twitter, where misogyny and hate speech are now part of the branding. Minister, our society, our culture and our institutions are steeped in violence against women, and we know that changing that will not be easy. Women like Natasha, Blonde, the Women of Honour and the women in the FAI who are speaking out about this issue are doing incredible work to drive change. But there's only so much that they can do. There are steps when it comes to legislation and regulation that can only be taken by the government. No one else can do it. So why hasn't it been done? Why does a zero tolerance approach so often seem like a zero effort approach? Take regulations for counsellors and psychotherapists, for example. We've known for years that this entire sector is a wild west with zero regulations, leaving vulnerable people open to abuse. To add insult to injury, the notes from that unregulated sector can be used against victims in court. The Health Minister admitted to the Dáil the other week that he had no idea when regulations would be introduced. Does he care, or does he view it as the next minister's problem? Similarly, the Dental Council have been pleading with successive governments for many years to strengthen protections for people. As it stands, a dentist with a conviction for a sexual offence can set up shop and practice, and the Dental Council is powerless to stop them. We know this because it's already happened, but still the government doesn't act. The issue of taxi regulation is a matter of huge concern. I think everyone in the country has been repulsed and horrified by the case of Raymond Shorten. Having already been convicted of raping 2 women in his taxi, we learned this week that he's also facing trial for the rape of a child. This serial predator is now facing sentencing later this month, which is a matter for the courts, but the regulation of taxi driver licences is a matter for this government. Minister, as you know, Gardaí regulate taxi driver licences and have the power to revoke licences in certain circumstances. The question that I and many other women have is, are those powers strong enough? We know that a disqualification from holding a licence can arise if drivers are convicted of certain crimes, like rape and sexual assault, while disqualifications for certain periods can arise on conviction of other offences. But are the list of those offences as comprehensive as they should be? When is the last time they were reviewed? Is this something that is done regularly as new laws are enacted? Is stalking, for instance, included in the list of offences that merit a full or partial disqualification? Because I couldn't find it. There is another issue with the regulations. They don't include a provision to suspend a licence if a driver is charged with a serious offence. This means it's possible for somebody to be facing serious sexual charges and simultaneously working as a taxi driver, picking up women on their own as they're trying to get home. Minister, I know the Taoiseach has said the government is open to reviewing these regulations, so I want to know if this is something the government is going to do. And if so, how long will that review take and when will you publish it? Because this needs to happen as a matter of urgency. We hear more about women being told not to walk home at night than we do about men not being told not to rape and assault women who are walking home alone at night. When women are told, if they're alone and attacked, that they should have been more careful, a lot of women opt to take a taxi, even if they're going a short distance. The thought that they could be getting into a taxi with a sex offender is unthinkable. It's our job to ensure that that doesn't happen. Regulation of the Defence Forces is also the responsibility of government. We know that Cathal Crotty has now been dismissed. So why are there other members of the Defence Forces with similar convictions who are still serving? Why haven't they been sacked? And why do we need a senior counsel to review this very obvious disparity? The Defence Forces clearly have the power to dismiss members convicted of violent crimes. Why have they only used it in this instance after enormous public backlash? It is all the hallmarks of an organisation which is already beset by sexual abuse scandals, acting reactively in response to public anger. The judge-led review following the Women of Honour report found, and I quote, "At best, the Defence Forces barely tolerates women, and at its worst, verbally, physically, sexually and psychologically abuses women in its ranks." The latest damning incident has done little to dispel that characterisation. There are other areas the government can and must act too. Why are we still waiting for legislation to ban the practice of some landlords demanding sex in lieu of rent? My colleague Cian O'Callaghan published legislation to ban it more than 2 years ago. The government took issue with the bill but has failed to produce its own one. Another major failure of this government and previous governments is the failure to provide sufficient refuge spaces. 9 counties are still without a single refuge space, and over half of the existing domestic violence refuges are full. Meanwhile, many of them have been operating at 100% capacity rates for years now. We hear over and over again about horrific instances in which women are left with no choice but to stay or return to abusive partners because the only alternative is homelessness. And the government's solution, this zero-tolerance strategy, is to double the number of refuge spaces to 280 by 2026. Even though the Istanbul Convention, which Ireland finally ratified in 2019, requires us to have 675. And then you call it zero tolerance. This is what we mean when we call zero tolerance an empty phrase from this government, because I cannot find evidence of it in any sector, society or in government policy. Zero tolerance isn't present in our court system where violent offenders routinely walk free with a slap on the wrist. It's not present in our regulations in the taxi sector or the counselling sector or the dentistry one. It certainly isn't in place in the Defence Forces. So, Minister, can you tell me and all of the women watching where we can find it? And given the government is not opposing our motion, can you tell us if you're actually going to implement what we have suggested?